clubs that existed in Silicon Valley when Steve Wozniak was building some of the first boards that became the first personal computers. And I think one of the things that both these wonderful gentlemen have talked about in the College family in general, I see as a thought process, and that's the machination of technology. So we think about what those little computer clubs were doing. Financially, technology had machinated to the point where they were able to utilize computing or supercomputing. But there's a movie out right now about a gentleman named Andy Thurley. You guys might know about this, called The Imitation Game, right? You guys heard about this movie? But really what this is about is the dawn of supercomputing. What that team did was they built the first supercomputer. And this is generally how humans machinate technology. It's something that's created either for defense or for innovation. An invention is created for survival or defense. And in that situation, it was for both. But what that did is that created the environment for us to be able to look at data in the virtual world, to basically allow a device outside of our own human brain. Now think about this. Your human brain, and I'm going to digress for a moment, produces 2 billion bytes per second. Okay? 2 billion bytes per second. Okay? So if we look at what that means as far as the computer that exists today, the most powerful computers, okay, can only do it at about an eighth of that. Now, one of the things, and that happened since, in the 40s, where they were doing kilobytes. And those were the first computers were just dealing with kilobytes. So as computers progress, our own thought process, the moment of singularity, as we would call it, right, between our own minds and the virtual intelligence, isn't that far away. So it's been hypothesized by a gentleman named Ray Kurzweil, who's a futurist and someone that actually invented the OCR, which is the optical computer reader. He's the person that allowed computers to read to blind people. He's predicted that by about in the 2040s, that we'll reach that moment of singularity. And what we're talking about when we talk about drones, we're talking about the convergence of the virtual world and the physical world. And this is something that certain scientists have been doing for quite a while. And so today we're talking about drones, but really what we're talking about is machination of technology that's existed for a while, but is now an opportunity for you to have a job. And there's different levels that you can do this at, but there's also different types of responsibility that you can find yourself involved with. And we're talking policy, we're talking about personal liberty, we're talking about privacy, we're also talking about incredible power and incredible ability to collect data. So there's a responsibility for all of us to kind of follow. Just like someone flying an airplane over a populated city. A very, very similar responsibility. So let's have a little fun and talk about the history of drones for a moment, okay? So when we think about drones, today we think about these quadcopters or these different devices that we hear about on the news, or the predators and reapers that get all the press. But this technology has been around for a while. This is actually a picture of Marilyn Monroe. There was a gentleman named Reginald Denny. And Reginald Denny was an actor who was obsessed with RC, which is how a lot of you kind of had your introduction to drones. RC copters and airplanes are actually drones that enthusiasts, like you said, and hobbyists have been using, well, for about 50 years now. But they were originally created by the military to use for target practice. And this is not a McDonnell Douglas, this was before they merged. That's a McDonnell drone from the 50s. This is a prototype from the 40s. This was in the 40s. But before that, there was a gentleman named Nikola Tesla, Dr. Nikola Tesla. And Dr. Nikola Tesla actually invented radio control frequency, radio control communication, and robotics in 1880s. So this is a piece here that shows a maritime drone that he did as a demonstration.